All right, welcome back to DC-Cember. This time, we're going to be going over the top 24 DC movies. As for the first round, we're going for the very controversial DCEU or Snyderverse, depending on who you ask, as we look at some of the best films from that era. Joining me are two well-known podcasters. We have Rich Davis, also known as Velvetjoker, and Patrick Palen, the sharp mind behind the Gotham City Radio Hour. I want to say welcome, guys, to this year's event.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you as well.
Let's get started. So we're going to go from the bottom to the top of the DCU. So let's get started with our number 12 pick.
Harry, start your slow.
There's a baby.
Oh boy. Well, I gotta say, despite some of Ezra Miller's questionable choices in life, I didn't quite hate the movie exactly, but some of the scenes are a bit odd, even for DC.
I remember when I first saw it, I came out of the movie and I was like, oh, I really liked that movie. That was strong. It had a lot of good things. But after rewatching it, it got to the point where it was detectable and there was a lot of, I don't think I'm ruining it for anyone at this point, but when the younger Flash and the older Flash kept talking about redoing the thing again and again and again, I think that's where the movie lost its pacing or trail, if you will.
Yeah, that was crazy. A very extreme way of trying to do the whole, you can't control everything.
You good? Come on, I need you in there. Let's go. Listen to me!
I didn't hate the movie. It definitely had its issues. I have it ranked higher than most people would probably have it. I feel like there's some really, really good qualities to it that might not redeem the whole movie overall. Because like you said, as a person, Ezra Miller, I wouldn't be friends with him. But I thought he was believable as a Flash, and Michael Keaton, I think he gave us some of the best, most underrated on-screen performances as Batman, and the action scenes were just fantastic. But I understand for sure why people would rank this really so low, because towards that very end, when all the multiverses are colliding together, it's a lot as it is, and then visually, it almost looks like you're in a video game all of a sudden instead of a movie.
Yeah, there's some very questionable graphics.
The babies too at the start of that movie.
Oh yeah,
It was a fun scene. Even though the CGI was not top form on that, you have to admit that was a really fun scene.
It was a fun scene.
And I really liked, also in the beginning, we got blue and gray Batman, which was really cool from a comic homage perspective.
Yeah, it was great to see all those different variations of the Batsuit. And yeah, Michael Keaton, he was probably the biggest highlight of the movie. But also that we got some good cameos from Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, and Jason Momoa, because this really felt like a connected movie to the previous ones, especially Man of Steel.
It's kind of bittersweet. I feel like it worked, ironically, as one of the last movies of the Snyderverse as well, because it was kind of almost like an unintentional send-off of all of these characters.
Though, funny enough, when the movie came out, it was already 10 years since Man of Steel came out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And seeing all those different Easter eggs from previous DC shows and movies, especially for Nicolas Cage back as Superman.
That's fair. I saw recently somebody talk about how there's this trope about superhero origin movies. They have the new superhero so often go up against a villain of the same power or shtick.
Plus, this was a very unique take on Flashpoint, pretty much, with whole Barry trying to save his mom. Just instead of Thomas Wayne Batman, we get Michael Keaton instead as an older Batman.
Let's get nuts.
How did you guys like that? Because that was almost like a Batman Beyond kind of vibe too.
Yeah, it did give me Batman Beyond vibes of old verse.
Yeah, it was like the Flashpoint sort of scene, and it was so strong. It didn't matter that it wasn't the other version of the older Batman, or his father as Batman, rather.
It's ironic given the fact that people wanted Jeffrey Dean Morgan to come back to be Flashpoint Batman.
Do you guys think that would have worked out well? Do you think he would have pulled it off?
I think he would, because that Batman is very violent, so...
He certainly played those kind of roles before, so I mean, he'd probably knock it out of the park.
And I gotta say, I didn't mind Supergirl in the movie. It actually made it believable that she could be Superman's cousin.
I think there was so much happening in that story that maybe in a more ideal world, if they saved this like Flashpoint type of story for a sequel or even a third Flash movie, maybe that would have been a little bit more easier to digest for the mainstream audience. I mean, I had only just recently, before seeing that movie, I only recently seen the DC animated universe movie, that Flashpoint Paradox thing. So if I hadn't seen that, I think I would have been a little bit more confused.
Well, there's always been a question like this when you're talking about a big budget movie like this. How much of this was actually the director's vision, and how much were the powers behind the scenes being like, oh, you got to change this, you got to change that. And maybe that's how it became overly convoluted.
I would say this movie definitely has studio interference, especially with the ending. Because to me, it feels like the Flash didn't really learn his lesson. Like, he lets his mom die as history has intended to, but he made sure that his dad wouldn't stay locked up forever. But that brings in George Clooney Batman.
Who the fuck is this?
Yeah, he just can't stop himself.
And apparently there was like 2 other endings. Like, I think one was either Michael Keaton Batman is back and alive with Supergirl, or another ending was with, supposedly would be Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill.
I just love that, like, one of the very last the Snyderverse movies, they were just kind of like, hey, George Clooney, part of the multiverse. Depending on how you take it, it's almost like, for some people who, if they really hate it, it's almost, it probably feels like getting the middle finger just before this thing goes underwater.
For me, The Flash was 13. So it was 4th from the bottom.
I ranked it at number 9, probably because I ranked just a few other movies a little bit lower than what usually get put below that.
I think for me, I put it like at number 11. I watched the second time and just I noticed some things, but I still enjoy it, mostly because of Michael Keaton coming back as Batman.
Yeah, I definitely back that. That's how I approach it.
Yeah, it's the most strongest element, for sure.
Thanks for watching today's episode. If you enjoy the commentary, be sure to check out my guest podcast channels. Click the links in the description box to find out more details.